viral video captures a mysterious figure in all black sitting in VIP. Is that really Jungkook watching Jin in secret? Was it really him, just when the world was still reeling from rumors that Jimin had quietly slipped into Jin's concert in Chiba? Now a second shadow has emerged, and this time, it's igniting an even bigger fire, because a new video, captured by a Japanese fan during the emotional encore of Jin's final night at Maknae Mess, shows a man seated in the VIP row, fully dressed in black, wearing a cap and mask, head low, posture unmistakable. And armies everywhere are now asking the impossible. Was Jungkook there too? The clip, only 6 seconds long, offers no close-up, no face,
No confirmación.
but like with all things BTS, that never stops the fandom. Within moments, the internet was ablaze with forensic-level frame-by-frame breakdowns, comparisons of Jungkook's recent airport fashion, and freeze frames of the man's hand, particularly a glimpse of what appears to be a tattoo just under the sleeve of his black hoodie. And now the conversation has shifted completely. What if two members of BTS, two who rarely appear together publicly since the military hiatus, showed up for Jin and didn't even tell him? What if this wasn't a coincidence? What if it was a secret reunion? And what if Jin never even knew? The figure in the video appears late in the encore, just as Jin begins The Astronaut, a song Jungkook once described as emotional even for me. He's seated a few rows from the front, in an area usually reserved for friends, family, or VIP guests. The person next to him appears to be a staff member in HYB security uniform, which only adds fuel to the fire. But what truly set the fandom into full-blown chaos is what happened after the encore. A second fan video shows the same man rising and slipping out of the VIP row as the lights go black. A quick turn of his body, a glimpse of earrings that match one's Jungkook has been seen wearing post-military, and, most telling of all, a walk that fans immediately recognized. No one walks like Jungkook. We'd know that posture anywhere, wrote one army on X, garnering over 400K likes within the hour. And here's where things get even more emotionally explosive. Jungkook hasn't posted anything since July 1, and Weverse updates. No live streams, no messages. His absence was noted but not questioned until now. What if this was the reason? What if he flew to Japan in complete secrecy? No airport dispatch, no schedule, no media. To sit quietly in the crowd and watch his young Jin perform for the first time in nearly 3 years. And what if he did it alone? What if he didn't even tell Jin, just like Jimin? What does it say about the state of BTS right now that the most powerful, emotional moments are happening in the shadows? Not on stage, not on TV, not in comeback trailers, but in the quiet of a darkened concert hall? Because here's what we know: Jin didn't announce any special guests. HYB didn't hint at any members being present. There were no cameras panning to VIPs, no dramatic surprises, just stillness. And now, fans are left wondering, did Jin know both Jimin and Jungkook were there? Or, more heartbreaking, was he singing alone, unaware that two of the people he loves most were sitting in the audience, weeping quietly along with thousands of fans? And then there's the more haunting possibility. What if that was the plan all along? What if Jungkook and Jimin both agreed, separately or together, to attend without telling Jin, just to see him again, not as bandmates or performers, but as fans? As family? What if this wasn't about making a statement? What if this was about healing? Because if there's one thing fans have seen in recent years, it's how deeply the separation of military service fractured the once unbreakable rhythm between BTS members. The silence, the distance, the loss of that daily, chaotic closeness, it changed them. And maybe now, as they start to find each other again, it's not through official reunions, but through soft moments, secret moments. Moments like this point two silhouettes in the crowd. Not singing, not posting, just watching, just loving. And here's the part that fans can't stop crying over. Jungkook and Jin have a bond that often gets overlooked. He's not just the Maknae. He's the one Jin once called my little brother, but also my friend. He's the one who carried Jin on his back and run BTS games. The one who burst into tears when Jin enlisted, even though he tried to smile through it. The one who stayed quiet, hidden, emotional, until now. And maybe this was his way of saying, I'm proud of you, Young. I never stopped being proud. Maybe that's what this was. Not a performance, not a spectacle, just pride, just love. And that might be the most BTS thing of all. Because if both Jungkook and Jimin were there, hidden, trembling, emotional, then we didn't just witness a concert. We witnessed a quiet reunion, a spark of the past, buried under military timelines and solo schedules and emotional fatigue, beginning to rise again, not on stage. Not yet, but in the shadows. And for now, maybe that's where it needs to begin. Maybe the healing of BTS isn't in the comeback trailer. Maybe it's in the crowd. I am the boy who thought no one would see, but we saw, and we'll never forget. And now that we've seen, we can't unsee it, because that silent figure in black, head bowed, face hidden, heart exposed under the dim glow of encore lights, was more than just a man in the crowd. It was a symbol, a whisper, a heartbeat, one that millions recognized instantly, even without confirmation, even without a clear view. Because it felt like Jungkook. IT moved like Jungkook. Did IT hurt like Jungkook? And the emotion that pulsed through the crowd in that moment. The way thousands of fans suddenly stopped screaming and just stared, wide-eyed and breathless, unsure if what they were seeing was real, was more powerful than any encore. Because if that truly was him, sitting there just feet from the stage, then Jin wasn't singing alone after all. He never was. And maybe that's why Jin's voice cracked during the final chorus of The Astronaut. Maybe that's why, for the first time since his discharge, he hesitated on stage, scanning the darkness beyond the lights as if someone was watching. Not the crowd, not the cameras, but someone else. Someone he felt. Could Jin have sensed both of them? Jimin in the shadows behind the curtain, and Jungkook out there in the crowd. Could that explain the soft, broken thank you he whispered, barely audible, after his final bow? You were there. I know. A statement no one on stage was meant to understand, but maybe two people in that hall did. And if both Maknaes came, not to perform, not to speak, not even to be seen, what does that say about the gravity of Jin's return? It says everything that IT says, that for all the headlines and solo schedules and quiet absences, the love is still alive, still burning, still pulling them back toward each other. Even if it has to happen in the dark, even if the world isn't supposed to see, but the world saw. And now the fandom is ablaze. Social media is flooded with side-by-side comparisons of the VIP figure's boots and jacket with Jungkook's known wardrobe. Fans have clipped audio of the person in the crowd humming softly during Jin's Abyss, and some claim they can recognize the subtle harmony of Jungkook's voice. Others point to security patterns, saying that at least two of HYB's elite personal guards, who are normally reserved for BTS members only, were seen moving toward the side exit just moments before the lights went down. And then there's the final blow, a low-resolution image, now deleted, that surfaced briefly on a Japanese BTS fan cafe. It showed a reflection in the glass wall of the venue, barely visible, but clearly depicting a man with long, dark hair pulled into a loose bun, wearing a black mask and standing beside a staff member in BTS tour gear. The timestamp? 9:38 p.m. right during the final encore, right when fans swear they saw Jungkook slip out the side. IT was him. We don't need official confirmation, we felt it. And now we're left with more questions than answers. Did Jin find out? Did Jungkook and Jimin come together or separately? Did they meet backstage after the show? Did they hug? Did they cry? And the question that's breaking the fandom apart in the best and most painful way, was this a silent promise that BTS will be whole again? Not because of pressure, not because of charts or trends or media, but because they need each other. Because despite everything, time, distance, military service, loneliness, they still show up, they still care, even if it means flying in secret, even if it means hiding in a crowd, even if it means watching from the shadows instead of stepping into the light. That's how deep this bond runs. That's what makes BTS more than a band, more than a brand. IT makes them family, and now, the echoes of that concert are louder than ever. Not because of what Jin sang, but because of who is there listening to IN's silence, IN loved at IN's secret. And if the stars align in Osaka, if Jungkook and Jimin appear once more, whether in the crowd or behind the scenes, then maybe this is no longer a series of coincidences. Maybe this is the beginning of the next chapter. Point one, not written in press releases, but in quiet presence. IN glances across the stage. Diane. breaths held in the dark that three brothers, one on stage, two watching, and the thousands of us in the middle, holding our hearts and waiting for the day when none of them have to hide anymore, when the crowd sees them all, when the lights come up and the shadows finally break, and BTS stands together, not because they have to, but because they want to, and because, through it all, they never stopped watching